Assalamu alaikum. My question is, during the Prophet ﷺ and during the Sahaba times, there was never doubts that whatever happens is a reason from Allah that that it happened to them that way. That's your opinion. But why now? I mean, nowadays especially, we are thinking everything that happens. We never think that any cause that happened to us is a mercy, right? What's the reason? What's the cause for us not to relate that every failure or loss is a mercy? So that's my question.
It's a great question. I think once again, in my experience as Muslims, as human beings, like when we're part of a spiritual tradition, when we're part of a religion or a way of life, without a kind of constant encouragement to root our purpose, I think like Kim was saying, the purpose of life, ultimately it's all about getting back to the Creator in an authentic way, which is Islam. That's our belief. A Muslim is somebody that attests to that belief. But if it just becomes about like the rules of Islam and we forget the purpose, I think a lot of the time that can lead to some kind of dichotomy in our practice, or at least our experience. What happens is our engagement with Islam stops becoming transformative. And what I mean by transformative is the actions that we do don't heighten our consciousness. The purpose of the prayer is to bring about this consciousness, heighten. I mean, if we're praying, we're still, we're constantly, our head's down on the floor and our heart's still all over the place, there's something wrong. I mean, we all go through it. I'm not saying that, I'm not claiming that I don't, but we can also understand that there's something not quite right going on there. There needs to be some kind of realignment to take place. Now, because what that means is you're conscious is that you're looking at something straight on, spiritually, from the heart, from the basira. But if the basira, your inner sight, becomes clouded, it's looking all over, we're fragmented, we're here, we're there, you can't focus, the eyes can't, like a camera, if you're going like this, it's always going to remain blurred. You have to wait for a minute and maybe even touch the screen in order to really, get into focus. That's like the heart, But that only comes about through approaching the prayer, with a bit more kind of, contemplation of what it's all about. The salah is our sila. It's our relationship with God. It's that, to the level of divine obligation. We have the 5 prayers. Why? Because it's so central to, renewing that sense of purpose and of worship and devotion. Devotion isn't just that you do stuff. To be devoted to someone, it has to, by implication, come from the heart. And, if we're struggling with that, that's okay. That's part of the journey that we do struggle with. There is an effort which is exerted, but it doesn't mean that we give up, And there'll be different times. Maybe we feel it slightly more on the hedge. Maybe there are certain moments that we feel a bit more in the prayer. And the spiritual path, the path of ihsan, is really to take those practices into more meaning. What does that mean? What it means is when we quote unquote come out of the prayer or out of the fasting, or through those processes, what starts to take place is we start to see stuff. It becomes, clearer, our basira, our inner sight. It's not just something intellectual, and that's the point. It's like, why can't I see it? Because I know it deep down. If I take some time, okay, this is from Allah, but why does it still hurt so bad? And it's because it's not here that we should be digesting it. It's here. The basira is here. Your inner sight is here. Ala wa hiya al-qalb. It's not the heart. The heart is really that eye in which we see things. And when we start to see things through real spiritual practice, which is transformative, it's amazing. One of my teachers, he was involved in a car crash, and it was described to me, the person sat in the back seat, he was literally sat like this. someone in there or something. Bismillah, Allahumma salli ala. He was just sat there like this. And the person in the back, literally, because sometimes, in a car crash you can't see what's happening. Sometimes it's like, it's coming straight, like it's an imminency, like, oh my, what's going to happen? And the car's coming. And everyone was screaming, so everyone saw it, and he was just like this. Completely composed. That's almost like not human. Like, what's going on in there? But it's amazing. And that's real religion. It does that to someone. And someone says, well, so we need to engage in that, whatever little bit that we can do. And if we do that, if we approach the prayer in that way, if we approach fasting, even if we're all here now, inshallah we didn't all just rock up with nothing else to do. If we're intentional about even the small things, they're not small things. A gathering of sacred knowledge where the understanding of the teachings of our Prophet ﷺ are, we remind each other and they're exchanged. The scholars say that this is circumambulated by malaika. There are angels which are frequenting. That's amazing. Because we believe in the unseen and we're engaged in this right now. And the dua, if you make a prayer in such a gathering, it's guaranteed acceptance. That's like, wow, you're now in a sacred domain right now. And the idea of the Muslim is we don't just, with respect, close the temple or the church or the place of worship on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday or a Friday. What we do is, the masjid is the place where we learn the realities of sujood. Masjid in Arabic is called ism makan, not makan. The Arabs say, what does makan mean? Place. In Indonesia, they don't say, fi kulli makan, makan. Like everywhere you go, there's makan. It's like a play on words. So ism makan is the noun of place, meaning it's the masjid, the root of it is sajada. It's the abode or the place in which prostration is performed, where you train in the realities of prostration. How the most explicit and incredible expression of devotion to Allah, because you got your head down on the floor. Malcolm X, he said, I had trouble with this at the beginning, because he knew what that meant, to put your forehead down flat on the floor. It's weird that somebody could be arrogant and have their head down on the floor. It's just so incongruous. But we suffer from these things. Malcolm X, when he placed his head down on the floor, it meant something. So when we do this, we really understand, be appreciative of these kind of things. So it's the place of sajda. Now, if we take as an example the sajda, and it's not placing our hearts into a place of sajda, into an increased level of devotion, therefore consciousness, and therefore recognition. Because if you're not conscious, how can you recognize anything? How can you make an active decision if you're blindfolded? And this is why we have, one of the many reasons why we have these great expressions within our tradition of worship, is to impact something within here, so we can start to read the cosmos in the way that it's been written. At least some have some kind of inclination to it. These aren't empty things. The Prophet ﷺ taught these things. He was teaching us to navigate those coordinates back to Allah. And that's why every act of worship, anything that you do is so profound. Don't underestimate it. Alhamdulillah.